моля за вашите аплодисменти за Maude Hirst в ролята на Хелга. How are you feeling, Maude?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be here. First time in Bulgaria.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that you have so many fans of the Vikings here?
I am. Hi, everybody. It's so good to meet you all.
It's an incredible production. It's so well shot. It's so well made. It's beautiful. The scenes that we saw are a little bit tragic as well, because obviously your character doesn't exist anymore.
No, she didn't have an easy journey, did she, either?
No.
Well, God.
Do you miss her?
Yeah, I really did. 4 years in a character is a privilege as an actor to really get involved in her whole journey, and it rarely happens that you get to live that long in a character, so yeah, I do miss her.
How did you encounter her for the first time? Did you audition for the role?
Yeah, so I was actually away travelling in Thailand, and I got a call from my agent saying that the role had come up and would I be interested in auditioning. So yeah, I auditioned and I loved her kind of free spirit. She was always a bit of a hippie Viking, and I was really excited to audition, and then it happened quite quickly. I think I auditioned and within about a month and a half I was on set, so it was quick, fast moving.
Are you telling me that your father is the creator of the show and he didn't help with the audition?
The character was written way before I auditioned, and he certainly didn't write it with me in mind. And so, yeah, no, it wasn't. It was a kind of, I think at some point we probably would have worked together, but it wasn't with this character in mind. So, yeah, I met the director, and it was kind of my agent that wanted me to be part of it as well. So it was lovely that it all worked out and that we did get to work together.
That's amazing. Yeah, your father is the creator of the show, your sister is also on the show, and you guys are totally independent from each other at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting family dynamic. It's always interesting, but she's my half-sister, and I wasn't ever raised with my dad, so it's kind of been a really interesting collaboration to work with family, to see. I mean, I think he's an amazing writer, as I'm sure everybody agrees. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey to watch and see how he works and to be able to collaborate. Yeah.
What was the, I guess, hardest thing about being Helga? Because you have quite a lot of makeup, no eyebrows.
No eyebrows, that was the worst. The most challenging thing was the storylines were very, dealing with lots of mental health issues. My husband in the show obviously had a huge amount of problems that we kind of dealt with all the time, and for me that was fascinating but also challenging to kind of be confronted always with somebody who was causing trouble and completely crazy, and being able to support that kind of character.
Do you remember your first audition?
Yeah, I definitely do. Terrifying, terrifying. I was so young, so when I was younger and when you're like young doing it, I took it so personally, and I remember auditioning for a theatre show, and there was like a line of kids and they just went along saying like yes, yes, no, yes, and hearing no's at like 10 and 11, I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? And then quickly you just develop a skill of not finding it personal, and you realise how impersonal it is, and it's about being right for the role. So I've kind of taken that forward into my adult life and realised that you do everything you can in an audition, and then you leave it behind, and sometimes it works and sometimes you don't get the role, but the right ones come at the right time.
And how would you compare, for example, experience with something this huge scale like Vikings, because this looks really difficult to do. It's like you guys have these huge scenes, you have a lot of stunts, and compare them to doing like a much smaller movie, like you said. I mean, not smaller in terms of budget or whatever, but just in terms of scale.
Yeah, I think there's differences and similarities. The difference, as you said, is the Viking set was so huge, it was like walking into a different world, which in some ways makes it easier because you actually don't have to visualize and imagine stuff, because the sets and the costumes are all there for you, so you just step into this incredible world of the Vikings. And the pressure on you is bigger because you know that every scene is set up so carefully, and there's wardrobe and makeup and sound people and camera people, so you know the scale of it, so you have to perform, and it's a skill to know how quickly you can learn your lines and perform them. And then on smaller productions, it's really lovely. It's always about like collaborations, and for me, the magic of this industry is about collaborating with other creatives. So although it is different and on different scales, it's just about finding the magic moments in whichever kind of thing you're doing.
What's like the most badass stunt you have done?
I really wish it was more exciting. I was actually just speaking to the Game of Thrones guys about the stunt coordinators on Vikings were like the best in the world, and people had like amazing fight sequences and like falling off boats. And my only stunt was falling up a hill. That was it. I know, just tripped.
I'm sorry.
I know, I'm sorry too. Yeah, I have no exciting stunt stories. Helga was a lover, not a fighter, unfortunately.
Yes, she had internal battles against her husband.
Exactly.
And how would you compare, I guess, Vikings to the Tudors, because you've been part of that as well?
Yeah. Again, it was a huge epic period drama, and the costumes totally different. In terms of costumes, Tudors, I couldn't breathe because the corsets were horrendous to wear. And in Vikings, it was much more flowing costumes, lovely. But historical stuff is fascinating to do because you step into a completely different world, and you have to think like, how were women treated and what were women like in that time? And for me, that's a fascinating way to look at it. But they were completely different, and actor-wise, it was a different journey. But yeah, the world's obviously a completely different time.
We live in a very interesting time for women creators in general, artists, directors, and I know that you would like to produce a lot more roles, good roles for women. Do you actually come across stories like that, and what type of stories would you like to tell?
I want to just tell real stories about what really happened, and for women not to be just supporting actors of the male lead characters. So it's not particular stories, although I do love murder mysteries and detective dramas, and there's so many amazing Scandinavian murder mysteries and stuff out at the moment, which I love. But for me, just telling stories of the real life of women that aren't glamorized and aren't put into like a pigeonhole, and let's look at them as humans, not as the sex that they are, and let's just tell incredible stories.
And for an actor, you obviously do a lot more than an actor, yoga and all the projects that you do. I know that you've spent some time in LA this summer.
Yeah.
Would you ever take that step and move there, or would you rather just stay there for a little bit?
I think just stay there for a little bit. It's an amazing place, and I have amazing friends there, including, I just realized that one of my best friends there is Bulgarian, Nina Dobrev.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I didn't know she's Bulgarian. I think she's big here. I just realized she's Bulgarian today. I just found that out this morning.
Do you know that she actually speaks Bulgarian? I've interviewed Nina.
Oh, really?
And she speaks perfect Bulgarian. She's just very shy about it.
Oh, I'm going to find out all of this from her next time. But yeah, so I've spent lots of time there and have a lovely group of friends. So I think I could be there for big chunks of time, but I don't think I'd ever move there because I'm a Londoner, and all my roots are there, all my friends, all my family. So I think my base will always be in the UK.
What would be a dream role for you to play?
I'd love to do something modern, and I think probably be a female detective. I think that's my dream. A young female detective who's like badass. Maybe does some stunts.
Does some stunts, I know. Yeah, because you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And would you would you write a story like that and do everything yourself?
Funny you should ask. Yeah, no, I do write a lot, so I do. But I have this weird thing that when I write something, I feel so close to it that I almost want somebody else to play the characters that I write to see it from an outside point of view. But I do write characters like that. I have written a female detective film, which, fingers crossed, will be happening. But yeah, that would be my dream role. I think doing something really gritty, real, modern, detective.
It sounds wonderful. And from past roles, I guess, from other movies, which character would you play? A female character that perhaps actually made you choose this profession at some point?
So many characters have made me choose this profession. What would I love to play? I love all the old period drama stuff, the UK ones. Like at the moment there's Downton Abbey and all the really big period ones, but I'm trying to think of one film that always inspired me. I love Kate Blanchett. I think she's an incredible actress. Kate Winslet's always been somebody as well that I inspire. And then Saoirse Ronan, who's the Irish actress,
Yeah,
she's wonderful.
incredible.
She's really incredible, and I've kind of watched her career and think like the choices that she makes are really interesting, and she always plays very real women. So kind of a career like that would be the dream.
Is there something that you wouldn't do for a role, like where you totally draw the line?
Yeah, I think just exploiting people. There's a lot, I think, in this industry. It's actually changing now, but I think there's a lot of unnecessary nudity, a lot of unnecessary sexuality that I don't think is needed for productions these days. So I think I have quite a strong boundary around that. But in terms of, I don't think there's anything else. I just think exploring different women is interesting. So I think, yeah, I don't have really strict boundaries other than that.
Is the Oscar the ultimate dream for an actor?
No, yes and no. Yes, of course you want to be recognised for your talent. So I think in terms of getting an Oscar, it would be incredible. But for me, it's more just having a stable life, working and collaborating with people that I really admire, and constantly.
Yeah. Guys, you're being really shy, but if you have a question for Maude, you can join us, because I can keep asking her questions. I don't mind.
I'm not scary.
It's really not scary. She's not scary, look at her. And tell me more about just the general atmosphere on the show, like Vikings. You said you were talking to the guys of Game of Thrones. They said yesterday that two of them, Christian and Daniel, said that they were very good friends. And it's generally easy for them to be friends because they spend loads and loads of time together.
Yeah.
Do you have a very close friend from Vikings?
Yeah, so lots of us are really close from the show, especially with the old cast. So Gustav, who plays my husband, I'm still a good friend of his. Alyssa, who played the second queen, Princess Auslog, she's a lovely, amazing woman. So yeah, we were all really, really, really close. And we've all remained good friends, and especially because when I go to LA, lots of them are based over there, so it's kind of nice to rekindle all the old friendships.
And how do you spend your time outside of work? Because some of the stuff that you do can be quite challenging, quite drenching, quite, you need your energy. I guess yoga is one of the things.
Yeah, yoga and meditation for me has been such a life-changing thing that's come into my life recently. So I spend it, like every morning I do meditation and yoga, and then just collaborating with people. So meeting lots of different artists and coming up with new ideas. And I write for a magazine as well. So yeah, lots of little things.
Great. We have questions. Hey, brave people. Can we go there?
Yeah, hi. Who's favorite character from the show and why?
I have a couple. I really love George Blagden, who played Athelstan. I think, yeah, he was wonderful. I love that he was an incredible actor, but he also had the eyes of the audience, so everyone related to him. I thought he was great. King Egbert as well, played by Linus Roach. He, I think, is one of the best actors by far in the show. And then Ragnar. I think Travis is wonderful.
No problem.
Thank you for your question.
Do we have another question from there?
I would like to ask, how did you feel to be playing the wife of Loki? Did you have any difficulties with such a strange and kind of crazy character?
Yes, thank you. That's a good question. It was always a challenge. Firstly, I mean, in terms of not from me personally, but for Helga, trying to support somebody who really was crazy and I think had quite severe mental health issues was always a challenge. But also, he is the most wonderful actor as a human, but also as a character. I think Floki was so interesting. So it was challenging, but totally rewarding to kind of go on that journey with him.
Thank you. Can we have another question from there?
Do you think that your death, Helga's death, just kind of happened out of nowhere? It just happened.
No, it did just happen. I think the thing with shows like this is that although everybody wants all the characters to survive. At some point, the story has to evolve, and so something had to kind of change. And I think their relationship, for Helga, it was actually a happy death because she kind of, it did come from nowhere, but I think also that is how their life happened in Viking times. So it was really sad, but she joined her daughter Angrboda in death, and for them, death was celebration. So it was kind of the right time for her to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from there?
Hey Maude, thanks
Hi.
for coming to Sofia.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You mentioned you started to do some writing and producing.
Yeah.
I wonder what's the most challenging part about this, number one. And number two, do you think you have better odds of actually making what you want to do when you own both writing and production?
Good question. I feel the most challenging thing for me is that I come up with lots of ideas all the time, and I'm constantly having big visions, and so the challenge is really creating the visions and getting the money behind the projects. Once you've got a script and you feel really excited about it, it's the process of actually getting it to production is quite challenging, but totally worth it. And you do have more control because it's your baby, and you feel so passionate about it that you will fight for it. In a way, as an actor, you get creative control of your character, but it's definitely somebody else's words, and it's a big production, so you kind of don't have the same control over it. Yeah, there's benefits of both, but you do feel slightly more in control of your destiny when it's your own project. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from there?
Greetings.
Hi.
I would like to ask what's your opinion on the blood eagle and whether it should be reinstated as a form of capital punishment.
My view of it was terrifying, and they made it so real, even when we were filming it, that it was the most gory thing to be a part of. It definitely shouldn't come back as punishment, no, but it happened. It was kind of crazy to think that these people really did that, and people stood around and watched it, because even watching it as an actor was brutal. So yeah, I don't think it should come back as capital punishment. No, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Do you?
Well, yes.
Oh.
Also, additionally, I would just like to thank you for your terrific performance in the show, and I would really hope that you could tell your father thank you for reviving my interest in history after the educational system of my country convinced me that it was the most boring subject ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have another question there?
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming. My question is about your character. What's your favorite thing? And what's the thing you don't like in Helga? And yeah, great acting and yes.
Cool. So my favourite part of playing Helga was her level of empathy, and she was a lover, real lover, not a fighter, and she always found a way to help people in a non-aggressive way. And there was lots of very strong female characters who were physically fighting people, but I loved that she was strong, but in a caring way, and she made people feel loved, and she helped Floki realise his power through her power, so that was amazing. My worst part was at times it was frustrating that she couldn't argue more, and she was very complacent sometimes when terrible things were happening. She just followed him anywhere, and I think like Maude would have liked to have been a little
Maude would like to react.
Yeah, there would have been a few more reactions, but yeah, you have to love and hate all the different sides of her, because I think actually her power wasn't that she didn't fight, and I think that was, it was a great thing to play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for just one more question. Can we have?
Hi.
It's really nice to see you.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask which one of the Ravner's sons is the most promising and which one is your favorite?
Oh, the sons. I mean, I always loved Alexander Ludwig, who played Bjorn, although he's not one of the new ones, because he was the baby of my generation of Vikings, so I think he was wonderful. But then Ivar the Boneless is a wonderful actor, and he, I think he's got lots of potential, although he's evil.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. If you want to have a picture or autograph with Maude, she will be in hall number 1 now, where you will be able to see her again. So just big applause for Maude Hirst. Thank you so much. Okay, I will be right back with another lady from the show.
Thanks, guys.